What's up? What's up, people? It's me, the funny girl. I'm not sure I'm that funny or not, but I do got some funny stories to share. All my friends are like, you need a YouTube channel. You have some great stories of stuff that's happened to you, just awkward situations, and you need to just let the world hear them. So here I am. I decided to start a YouTube channel and just to make people laugh and just to upload my funny stories, and I figure why not? We could all laugh together, right? But my first story I would like to tell is about my experience with Motel 6. Dun dun dun. So I want to say this as a disclaimer. Not all Motel 6s are horrible. I've heard some decent or okay reviews about them, but you definitely need to be careful and check into the motel you're staying at. I definitely would recommend that. I myself personally had a bad experience with a Motel 6. So I'll give you the rundown of that. Just as a warning, I want you guys to be careful. I really do, because you just don't know the crazy things that are out there sometimes. But yeah. But so anyway, it all started when my friend, she was like, hey, I want you to come to this church camp. And it was in July. It was just this past July, so it was about a month or two ago. And I was like, sure. And so I actually had, it worked out with my schedule at work that I could actually just go. And I had a free day the next day. So I could just spend the day at the camp. So that's what I planned to do. And, it was short notice. And I had only a few days to actually find a hotel. So I was really in a rush. And because the church camp was such a big camp, and there was so many people there, all the hotels around the area were booked. And I was trying to find somewhere that was nearby so that I wouldn't have to drive a really great distance to go to the church services. Or if I needed to go get something or come back, I just didn't want to drive through a lot of traffic, to get there. So all the hotels around the area were booked, and I'm looking online and I'm scrolling and I'm like, oh my goodness. And some of the prices were just really high for one night, all I need is a place to sleep. I just need a bed. It doesn't have to be furnished like a palace. I just need a place to sleep. Somewhere that's clean but functional, That's what I was looking for. And I had called so many places. Everybody was booked. And then I look and I see this Motel 6 in Joe B. Hall, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. That's the address. Never go there. I just want to warn you guys. I normally would never, name places or people. This was horrible. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. Do not stay at a Motel 6 on Joe B. Hall Avenue in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. It's a trap. It's a trap! Don't do it. So, yeah, I called the lady and I was like, do you guys have rooms available? And she was like, oh yeah, a king size bed. We got a king size bed and it's a non-smoking. And she basically told me over the phone that all of their whole establishment was non-smoking. They didn't have smoking rooms in the building. Remember that, because we're going to come back to that later. Yeah. So I was like, sure, it sounds great. This all sounds perfect. It's just working out and it's just great. I only have a few days and then I get to go. And so on my way down, during those few days up until the time of my departure for the camp, I had called different times during those few days. I think I booked it 3 days before the camp. I called and I had made sure different things, everything was okay, and I had called and asked a few questions. I did call and ask if they had a fridge in the room because I have a gluten and a dairy allergy. So I'd called several times, and then on my departure on the way down to the camp, I actually called them again that day. It was in the afternoon around 4 or 5 or something. And I said to him, I asked them, is it okay if I'm a little later? Is there any curfew or any certain time I have to be there? Because I am going to a church before, a church service down in Elizabethtown right before, we get to the motel. Oh, no, it's fine. Anytime. Remember that, because we're going to come back to that later, too. So, yeah, so I get to the church camp, or we get there late, so we missed the service and everything. But I got to hang out with my friend afterwards. And so we leave the church camp, and it is late because we did hang out a little later than probably we should have. But I think it was like 12 something when I got done, hanging out with her and stuff and talking to people. Me and my mother, it was my mother with me, because she didn't, she was afraid of me traveling all that distance by myself. My car's in bad condition, so, like, she was just afraid, something would happen to me. Isn't she such a sweet, nice mother? I'm glad she came along, not gonna lie. After the event that we went through, I'm so glad I had someone with me. So anyway, we're headed down towards the motel, which is like, I think it was like maybe 10 minutes from the camp. So it was very close, pretty much, So I called them up on the phone just to make sure everything's still okay. And surprise, surprise, like, they informed me that they gave my room away because it was on courtesy call. Even though I had asked them on the way down, was there any sort of curfew? Was there any time I was supposed to be there to check in? And I was told no, but then when I call on the way down, it's like, oh yeah, we gave your room away, sorry. And I admit, I'm a Christian, I'm not perfect, and I do get upset. And I told the man on the phone, sir, you will fix this because we have no place to stay and we're on the road. Everything's booked. You're going to find us a room right now. And of course, later I apologized. I did apologize because I felt really guilty about being rude to him. But he looked up online, and he's like, okay, I think I found a room for you. It's going to have to downsize to a queen size bed though, instead of a king size. Is that okay? And I said, sir, anything. Just at this point, it's getting later and just anything will do. And he said, well, we do have to up the price. On this short notice, we're going to have to up it from $64 to $124. And I cringed. Deep inside, down in the pit of my soul, I thought, oh my goodness, like, I cringed. I was like, what? For a Motel 6, like, $124, that's pretty steep. But I didn't have any options, and he knew that I didn't have any place to go. Like, he knew that I was stuck because in the area, they knew all the hotels were full and stuff, and he had even told me, like, good luck on finding somewhere because it's pretty booked everywhere. And so I was like, sir, that's horrible. That's a horrible price because that's really steep, but for just one night, no continental breakfast in the morning, just a Motel 6, like one night, yeah. I was like, okay, fine, we're going to do it. We have nowhere else to go. We'll do it. So we get lost, actually, on the way down because the GPS doesn't even recognize the location where the Motel 6 is. Luckily, I spotted a sign, and I'm like, I think it's over there. Let's head over there. And it was behind all these buildings, like, there was like grocery stores, and then it's like way off in the corner back there. And so we drive around, and immediately, like, looking at the place, it looked so sketchy. Like, I tell you, something just didn't feel right. Like, deep down in here, I just, that women's intuition that you got that just says, red flag? I don't think so. It was just one of those situations where I just had a little bit of unsettling in my stomach. So we get in the building, and immediately I am like assaulted for no other word to use, with the stench of cigarette smoke. And I mean, it is so strong that it could blow you off your feet. And I'm thinking to myself, the woman on the phone that I had called for the motel told me that the whole establishment was non-smoking altogether. So that's weird. It was so strong that my head was hurting, actually. And it was bad. But, I didn't have anywhere else to go, so, again, stuck. So anyway, we get there to the guy that's behind the desk, and we're talking to him. And, he's like, okay, you're here, and he's taking my payment or whatever. And it took him like 15 or 20 minutes just to take my payment. I don't know why, but it was like a very slow process. And he had my card, and he kept just asking, it started off with the kind, like, conversational, friendly, like, how are you guys? How are you doing? Where are you from or whatever? But then it kind of just went on, and it was like getting kind of weird because he kept asking personal questions like, oh, you're here for a camp, a church event. Well, how far are you from the church event? How far are you from where you live? Oh, really? That's really far. And then it kept getting weird because he kept like just asking strange questions about what we were doing and what we were going to be, where we were going to be tomorrow and what our plans were tomorrow. And I just kind of felt a little strange about it, you know? And the place when you walk in, I'm going to tell you this honestly, guys, it's not a hotel. I mean, people might sleep there, but there's other stuff going on, if you know what I mean. You could just tell. You walk in and I'm thinking, the first thought when I walked in, I look around and I think, oh man, I should not have watched those Taken movies. Liam Neeson is not here to save me. I'm going to be taken. Like, I'm literally going to be taken. This place is a prostitution place. Or, I mean, there's drugs here. There's prostitution. Like, I could just see, like, the building. It just, when you walk in, the atmosphere, everything. That's what you think. That's literally what you think. And so, I already was kind of, like, feeling a little, like, concerned anyway. And then the guy is acting weird at the counter. He takes my license and he's like, oh, you have a nice picture. That's a nice photograph of you. And he takes what I assumed was his cell phone, but they tell me it was an iPad. It looked like a cell phone to me. He takes a cell phone and puts it under his desk. And I see this bright shining light, like a flash. And I hear a camera click, like on his cell phone, like those personalized camera clicks where it's like, or like different noises, you know? And I'm looking and I'm like, he just snapped a picture of my license. Like, what? But that's weird. I have traveled all over the place. I've been to probably like 10 different states, and I've been out of the country actually a few times. And I have never, ever, ever been to a motel or stayed anywhere where they took pictures of your license because, you know, they have your card information right there. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, they take your card and stuff. So I don't know why. Yeah, it was weird. And so, we get up to the room, okay? And we get up to the room and it was decent. It wasn't, I don't care about like furnishings so much, you know. It doesn't have to be like super updated and modern to please me, okay? Like, I just needed a bed to sleep, and the bed was totally comfortable. So that was the only thing I think that really saved me from really going off on them. But the room itself was dirty. There was like food in the floor and stuff from where they did not clean. And it's just weird. And I walk in and it was just really weird. Like, the atmosphere, I felt, you know, like kind of not safe there. I didn't really feel safe. And so I go to get a shower because we had traveled. I literally hopped in the car and like got home and ripped church clothes on my body. Didn't even shower. Straight from work and went straight up to the camp, like a 4-hour drive or so in this heat. It was like 90, upper 90s at the camp, and we were sweating profusely. So I feel grody. Like, I just want to take a shower. Do you know what I'm saying? When you travel far and you're like, I want a shower. Like, you just need that shower, you know? You just need a shower. So I get in the bathroom and I go to take a shower, and the towels are wet. There's like there's one bath towel. There was one bath towel for me and my mother both. They didn't have any extra towels, like one bath towel. And it was wet. And I pick it up and I'm looking at it like, why is this wet? And there's hair on it. Dark black, curly hair. I don't know if someone shaved their beard or other things. I don't know. I tried not to think of it. I was like, oh, I'm not going to use this. So I'm like, okay, maybe the hand towels. We'll try the hand towels because there was a few of those. Same thing. Wet hair. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot do this. Like, these don't smell clean either. Like, they just, oh my goodness. I don't know if someone's used these and rolled them back up and they literally didn't wash them and just stuffed them back in there or what. I don't know. I'm not using them. So I paid $124 for this motel, and I'm not using these wet towels. I'm not doing it. So I send my mother because, you know, I kind of wasn't clothed. I couldn't go down there. I'm like, please go get me some towels. Please, for the love of God, I just want some towels. So she goes downstairs and comes up a little later and tells me what happened. But basically, she gives me a towel, and I put it up to my face to dry my face, and it smells so strong of cigarette smoke that I just threw it on the floor. I was like, I can't even use this. Like, it smells like it wasn't washed, for one thing. It smells like it literally was used, and then it smells like cigarette smoke on top of that. No. It was dry. I do have to say, it was dry, and I didn't see hair on it, so that's kind of a plus, maybe. But she tells me later what happened when I get out. She had went downstairs to talk to the guy down there at the desk, and he basically tells her, sorry, room service is closed, can't do anything for you. And she was like, you will get us some towels right now, please. We need some towels. And he told her that the things were locked back there and that he didn't have access to them. And my mom's like, she wasn't leaving. So she's like, I'm standing here till he gets towels. So finally, he, out of the goodness of his heart, he was such a, the goodness of his heart, such a kind person. He decides, he tells her, oh, I can break into a room, I guess. All the rooms are all booked, but he can break into someone's room while they're sleeping. Because all the rooms are booked, remember now. I can break into a room, I guess, and steal you some towels. She's like, yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you. So that's where the towel story came from. Also, one thing that I noticed about the bed, when I walked into the room, I forgot to mention this, but originally I had booked a king-size bed for the $64, and then they told me they gave my room away and had to downsize to a queen bed for $124, which was funny because when we walked into the room, the bed was a king-size bed. So I'm pretty sure they just lied to me and told me they gave my room away so that when I got there, they could just charge me extra. And I'm not the only one to have been through that at that hotel, that motel in particular, because I read the comments online from different guests that stayed there, and it was the same instance. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me as well. But more on that afterwards. So I get home, after the whole event, and I'm ticked off because just the experience was just awful. I mean, even laying in the bed at night, we put a chair up against the door because it felt unsafe. Like, I'm telling you guys, you should never have to stay in a place where you do not feel safe. I had visions running around in my mind from all those violent movies I've watched, which I should not watch, of men in ski masks breaking our door down. And our door didn't even, you could see the light around the edges of the door. It didn't even close right. So, it was really awful because we thought we were going to get kidnapped at night. And I had visions of men breaking into our rooms, ripping us out of our beds. Like that Snatched movie where that mother and daughter get kidnapped? It was awful. So I get home and I'm kind of ticked off, just ticked off. And maybe I should have calmed down, I maybe shouldn't have done this, but I called corporate. And I told them what happened, mainly because I was worried about him taking a picture of my license. I just thought that was so weird. And when we had left that next morning, my mother asked the lady that was there behind the counter, because it was a different person behind, on duty or whatever, on staff. And she told my mother, oh, that's normal. That's normal because we do that in case, for insurance policies, in case you wreck the room or there's damage to the room. And I'm thinking, you have our card number. Why would you need my license? Well, I called corporate and she said, this does sound like a horrible experience. She's like, some people call, and she was basically saying some people do call and they kind of over dramatize stuff. She said, what you went through, it does sound pretty bad because, there's hair on the towels. They're wet. They're not clean. He wouldn't get you to clean towels. There's food in the floor. Your bed was not, you were charged for a king-size bed in the beginning. Then you were given a queen and charged extra, but really ended up being a king. And just things like that. And even when I had got there at the motel, they actually tried to upcharge me again from $124 to $130-something on top of that. They forgot, we had agreed on the phone on the way down, okay, from $64 to $124. They tried to up the charge a third time. So all this going on, and the lady told me, she said, this does sound bad. And she said, under no circumstances are they supposed to take pictures of your license with an iPad or with a phone. She's like, it doesn't matter if it was an iPad that the company owns. She's like, they are not, by policy, supposed to ever take pictures of your license. They don't need that. Yeah, that when corporate tells you that kind of raises some red flags. I thought, are they going to steal my identity? Are they going to try to come get me? My address is on there. Like, they're going to come get me or something? I don't know. And so I called the manager, days later, or it might have been a week later. I called the manager, and his name's KP. He was so rude. He was extremely rude. I told him what happened on the phone. He barely listened to maybe like 5 minutes of my story before he rudely cut me off and told me, well, if you didn't feel safe there, you should have stayed at another hotel. And I was like, yeah, I just told you, like, they were all booked. And I told him at one point, I said, to be honest with you, we almost went and slept in our car, but we thought that might even be more dangerous, so we just stayed at the hotel. He was very rude. He did offer to refund me a portion of my money, a very small portion. I went ahead and took it. I was like, hey, for all the trouble, yeah, I'm taking it, So I did take that, and they did actually refund my money. But he was extremely rude to me, and it was horrible. I know that there's a lot worse stories that happen at motels and hotels, worse than what I've given. I know that for a fact because I read the comments afterwards later, the reviews of guests that have stayed at that motel. So I don't mean to be over dramatic or say oh, this was the worst ever, but I guess just everything all together and being done that way and feeling not, being in a place where you don't feel safe for the most part. It was kind of a bad experience, And mainly because I paid all that money too, and I'm just thinking all that money I paid for that, for that trashy hotel when I could have went to a nicer one if they had room and booked a nicer place, which I should have done in the beginning if I could have found somewhere, which I couldn't. But the reviews, let me tell you about the reviews I read. You've got to look it up. It will make you laugh. Some of them are so funny. There were multiple reviews about the motel, in particular that Motel 6 and Joe B. Hall Avenue, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Multiple reviews about it where people said, I pull back the sheets and bed bugs everywhere. One man said that he was getting a shower and he came out of the shower with a bath towel on, and one of the maids just abruptly entered his room without any kind of notice. And he's just staring at her in his bath towel half naked. And he's like, what's up? Get out of my room, woman. What are you doing in here? It's kind of awkward. I'm half naked and you're just staring at me whatever. And there's other reviews on there. One man said that the shower was disgusting and had black all over it. And he turned on the water and black stuff came out. A lot of people left reviews. Mainly it was the towel review. A family of 4 stayed in there and they were like, why can't we have towels? They wouldn't let them have towels either. They basically told them that's all you get the whole entire time they stayed there, and they were there for days. And literally they had a family of 4 and they only had 1 or 2 bath towels the whole entire time. And then one of the comments was the manager had ran someone off, they complained about the motel, and he literally told them, get off my property or I'm calling the police, and I'm telling them that you were violent and harassing me and all this. And just literally the awfulest stories. Some of the stories I read on there don't even sound believable. They sound pretty horrible. I don't know why they haven't looked into this place. Somebody needs to look into this place, because I guarantee you it's a place for dirty deeds. I don't think it's a regular motel for people just to sleep. I think it's illegal stuff going on there for real. One lady said she slept with scissors in her hands while she was in bed because she was so scared, because all night long she heard, as she quoted, unsavory characters roaming the halls at all hours of the night. Pot and drug smell really strong in the halls. So I guess I'm not the only one that's had a really bad experience with this place, but if you've ever stayed there, or you have bad experiences with Motel 6, I think it'd be fun. Leave comments in the comment box below. But yeah, it was a horrible experience. I hope you liked this video and got some good laughs about it. And you'll definitely get some good laughs if you look up the reviews. I myself left a review on there too. So check it out. And thanks for tuning in. Bye!